I'm speaking to a specific point, which is at the root of why we have the problems we have in the world. Because when we treat ourselves, when we are so judgmental and so hard on ourselves, we treat other people horribly. And we treat the world horribly. And our heart is so closed that we walk by people who are homeless, people who are suffering, we don't care because we're trapped in our own suffering. But when you really learn to take good care of yourself and your suffering is not driving your thoughts and feelings every day, you have more space and there's more love to give in whatever way you're able to give at that time. Whether it's to stop and say hello, or give some money, or give some water, or listen. But if we're trapped in our suffering because we're so hard on ourselves and we're rejecting ourselves and we haven't dealt with certain things in our life, then it's hard to show up for anybody because we don't even know how to be there for ourselves. So it has to start with this. Let's say we have a relationship, a friendship, quote unquote friendship, but let's say you're a people pleaser and I'm really selfish and narcissistic and I enjoy those type of people. I like using people for my happiness because that's how I learned to get through the world. And let's say you start to express your feelings and you do it really gracefully, like I feel hurt and I feel angry and no, I don't really feel good about that. And then I say you're a horrible person, you're a selfish bitch, you only care about yourself. Do you really want that type of person in your life?
No, but the person doesn't usually say that, they just kind of disappear when you say how you really feel.
Well, then those people are probably not meant to be in your life. So because do you want to have relationships that are based on truth or on lies and pleasing just to not be alone? When you look objectively and your insecurity and your fear is not active, the truth is really apparent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, so you've got to just restart and find a new lot of people that sort of feel like you do.
Exactly. Or with your family, for example, let's say your family, which are people who you can't escape a lot of the times, we're all doing our best to learn about love. So my view is that we come here to the earth, we come into being to enjoy life as much as possible and to experience and learn about love. Okay? And everybody's on that same path, even though it looks like something else. Okay? So our family, who we love but have probably been hurt the most by, they're also learning these hard lessons about being honest and vulnerable. So what I have found is that as I found the strength in myself to overcome my fear and guilt and shame and be 100% honest and vulnerable, that I've created a space in my family for my mother, my sister, and family members to feel safe, to come to me with their emotions. Even if at first they're not ready, they will come back after they think about it, because basically as you learn to love yourself and accept yourself and value yourself, your heart is full of this energy of acceptance and kindness and love, because you know that's how you need to be treated, you know that's how you want to treat others, you know that you want other people to treat you that way, and you know that in order for them to treat you that way, they have to treat themselves that way. So with that penetrating insight, it changes the way you relate, not only to yourself, but to other people. So for me, on my healing journey, because I couldn't find the love I needed outside of me, I created a container inside of my mind, my heart, and my body of unconditional love and acceptance, selfishly for me. The byproduct of which has helped probably over 100,000 people now, all over the world. But the key is to be able to do it inside yourself and then with the people you care about, because that's where you're tested. Like, there's a joke in this world that I'm sure most of you have heard, right? If you think you're enlightened, go home to your family. Because it's easier for us to have this conversation here than to go to your parents or your husband or your wife, and where all those deep-rooted subconscious programs were born and exist. But that's where the true magic happens and the true work, is really done, is when we're able to practice this in the hardest places, in the most painful places. So basically, as we move forward towards a life and create a life that reflects more and more honestly who we are in our heart, what we really feel, what we value, how we see the world, how we want to treat others and be treated, we naturally leave behind anyone or anything that doesn't serve us. And it's not always easy to let go. But eventually you get so clear when you know you're hurting yourself, or you're going into a situation that's painful, or basically someone treats you like shit or doesn't appreciate you. As you start to value yourself, you say, you know, I don't want to be around that anymore. I deserve to be treated better. My feelings matter. My heart matters. I need to be around people that can hear what I have to say and what I feel without making me wrong. And goes back to what I was saying as children. So we all learn to make ourselves wrong to survive in exchange for conditional love, approval, acceptance, security. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Just have to start going with new people, if you're honest. You know?
Well, it's like, let's say you're hungry and you see this perfect pizza. You can't eat the whole pizza at once. You have to eat it bite by bite. So transforming your life, you can only take it one moment at a time. So basically tonight, when you leave here, every moment, every interaction is a fork in the road where you're either being true to yourself or you're betraying yourself. And it's actually that simple. So to me, the most valuable, priceless question on the planet in human consciousness is, how do you actually love yourself? And thank God, thank whatever you want to thank, the answer is so simple and it's the same. So how do you love yourself? How do you accept yourself? How do you be yourself? How do you forgive yourself? And I'll talk a little bit more about this. How do you value yourself? How do you believe in yourself? What is the key to all of those things? The answer is one thing: to speak and act based on your truth in every moment of every day. So when you leave here tonight, the key to healing all of your problems, whether it's physical disease, depression, a job you don't love, a relationship you don't like, attracting the right partner, is to start to be 100% honest and vulnerable with everything you say, and to act in alignment with that true feeling in your heart. And then a heart that feels cared for becomes a body that feels better to be in, and one that I want to take care of, because, God, I love connecting in this human body. I love to love, and I want more of it. And I came here to be free inside what is often perceived as a cage, the body. But if you go through this process, you become liberated in the body. So you become fully embodied and free in the body, like a butterfly inside of a body. But that's because your circulatory system's not clogged up and your subconscious is not clogged up with pain that you keep creating yourself by hurting yourself. So how do you stop hurting yourself is actually the same question as, how do you forgive yourself? Okay, so if you look back on your life right now and you think about all the relationships, all the situations where you've allowed yourself to be hurt, used, taken advantage of, where you haven't stuck up for yourself, where you've let yourself be a victim, where you've let yourself get sick, you've let your money be taken from you, whatever it is that you've allowed to happen because you didn't know better and had a very hard lesson to learn, symbolizes what we need to forgive ourselves for. Does that make sense? So this is another priceless question. How do I forgive myself? And for me, I had to get to the practical solution. Now again, everything I'm saying first comes from my own selfish desire to be healthy and happy. I joke that even though I help thousands of people every year, I'm the most selfish man you will ever meet. But I'm also honest about it. And you're just as selfish as me, but your selfishness might not yet be as healthy as me. But maybe it's healthier than me. It could be healthier too. Does that make sense? Okay, so how do we forgive ourselves? The key to forgiving ourselves, which also happens to be the key to forgiving other people, is to stop hurting yourself. And this gets uncomfortable. If anybody's uncomfortable and is getting distracted, it's understandable. So how do I forgive myself? I have to stop hurting myself and stop letting myself get hurt. How do I stop hurting myself and stop letting myself get hurt? I speak and act based on the truth in every single moment, in every situation. That's how you stop hurting yourself and stop letting yourself get hurt. And yes, things might crumble for a little while, because if you're really honest, you might be in a marriage you're not happy with, or in a job you're not happy with, or a relationship that you're in, even a friendship or a family relationship, can be built on eggshells, right? So you start being totally honest and fireworks start happening. But you get to this other side if you can continue to be honest. And again, a big part of communicating is being kind and as clear as you can be in your communications, which is a whole nother level, obviously, for all of us of mastery, is to be able to say, I feel hurt, I feel angry, instead of, fuck you, you asshole, or you're such a bitch, which is just code for I feel hurt and I feel angry, and we've never learned this form of communication, and so we keep breaking each other's hearts and hurting ourselves, and we disappoint ourselves, because if I treat you horribly with my words and my actions, I then feel guilty and ashamed and regret it, because I know I can do better, but I just haven't learned how. Does that make sense? So that's an important next step, obviously, is we don't want to just say, you know, you're a piece of shit, and that's me being honest. It's about, I feel hurt, I feel angry, I feel scared, I feel ashamed. I miss you. I don't like being around you. I need space. These are the hardest things to say, and to say them with, you know, grace. Yes?
Just wanted to ask what you think about the phrase, you make me feel. People always think you have to own your own feelings and you can't tell someone they made you feel a certain way without letting them.
Ultimately, yes.
Just probably the last question. So
Okay.
Just coming at time.
Okay.
It hits up.
Ultimately, that does become the healthiest perspective, because as we heal and go through this process, we don't want to necessarily give all of our power away to other people, and we don't want to get trapped in blame. Okay, so for example, if we're in a relationship and I say something to you like you're such a bitch, and that hurts you, and then you say, and then I say, well, and then I start to manipulate you and say, you know, you can't say I made you feel that way. Well, you know, there's actually truth in that, because you're reacting and you're putting yourself in relationship with someone who's not healthy for you. So in the end, it's up to you to remove yourself from that situation, walk away, don't call me, don't text me, or we need to go see a therapist. It depends on where we are in our relationship and whether I'm willing to look at myself. Does that make sense? Or I could be a master manipulator and be really good at making you confused, because I'm confused, and I want you to be just as confused as me. Does that make sense? So the key is, come back to, how do you feel? Okay, I feel hurt. Okay, well, why do I keep going back to a situation where I keep hurting myself? Because if you go back to, let's say, a guy or a girl that doesn't respect you or doesn't treat you well, you are hurting yourself by going back. You are touching that fire and burning yourself. And after the first time or the second time, you should know, I'm going to get hurt if I touch that. But this is the lesson that we all have to learn the hard way. So for most of us in our intimate relationships, so your partner, your spouse, and your intimate family relationships, the mastery comes with, how do I value myself 100% in this situation? Ironically, even someone who loves you and appreciates you more than any other human being on the planet, they can't value you 100%. Only you can value you 100%. Only you can 100% say, what I feel matters, and because life is so precious and we could all die tomorrow, only you can say, what am I going to do with this moment? What am I going to do with this hour? How am I going to value and appreciate, not take for granted the miracle of this existence right now? You know, and for me, that's a big way that I value myself, not just being honest with my words and actions, but sometimes being honest with my actions is, I don't want to be around this situation right now, so I want to go this way. I want to go have a coffee. I want to go for a walk. I just want to be by myself. And for me, that's a big way of valuing myself, because when I'm on my own and my energy body is fully open, the source inside of me percolates and fills my being with everything I need, rather than thinking I need to be around somebody to get something, to feel better. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what you're responsible for is how you react, how you speak, how you act, based on a situation you keep experiencing. You know, and we're all human and imperfect, so everybody's struggling, but if you try and someone's not open to looking at themselves and taking responsibility for their emotions instead of dumping them on you all the time, then it's up to you to say, this is not healthy for me anymore. Does that resonate? Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.